Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Sometimes it's better not to argue with the banks, but OP in our first story has a different opinion. Subscribe to our channel if you're new here, and don't forget to turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Sit comfortably. Here we go. Bank won't make a change. I close my account instead. This happened a few years ago. I was working at a large national chain restaurant as a manager. I was asked to temporarily reassign to a location in a city about an hour away and accepted. They put me up in a hotel, the whole 9 yards. The first weekend I was there, I discovered that the GM had screwed up and not ordered any change, small bills / rolls of coins for the safe, and that the local branch of our bank would be closing in the next hour. I also happened to have a personal account at the same bank and had, in the past, gone and gotten change from the branch back home. Since time was tight, I quickly looked up the address of the bank, grabbed $800 and jumped in my car. I get to the bank, wait in line, then ask them to make change, $405 bills, $801 bills, and 100 in assorted rolled coins. The teller tells me the bank doesn't make change. Me, thinking it was because they didn't know me, informed her that our restaurant had an account and she should look it up. She then told me, "No, we don't make change at all." The thought going through my brain was, WTF, you're a bank. I tried explaining the situation but was quickly shot down. I left, went back to my car, then had an idea. I went back inside the bank with my personal checkbook, got to the front of the line, and luckily the same teller. Before she could even greet me, I held out my checkbook and told her I would like to close this account, since the bank is no longer customer service oriented. She kind of rolls her eyes, but went about my request, then asked how I wanted my cash back. An automatic response, I'm sure, and one I was counting on. I said $400 in fives, $300 in ones, $70 in rolled quarters, $25 in rolled dimes, $4 in rolled nickels, and $1 in rolled pennies. The rest can be on a cashier's check. No reason for her to deny it, so I got my change. And the following Monday, I returned, closed out the other 2 accounts I had there, and I opened accounts at a different bank where I've been banking ever since. And our next story. Oh, so you can leave early for your anniversary, but I can't? I had the worst job. I mean, we've all had lousy jobs, but this takes the cake. I was hired on to be the shipping and receiving supervisor for a manufacturer of building supplies. Basically, I work in a tar factory. I was promised a whole bunch of things when hired on, and there were red flags because they were offering me about 40% more than I was making before. For one, I was a salaried employee, so I wasn't paid overtime, and no one had been in my position for about 3 months. Anyway, they fly me to nowhere, Arizona for a week to train, and the lady who trains me talks crap about my plant the entire time I'm there. I show up after training for a week, and things are, in a word, grim. They're behind almost $2 million in shipments, and there's paperwork from deliveries for the past 3 months that haven't been received into the system or filed. It's just stacked in a box. It's their busy season, but manufacturing is only producing about 30% of their daily quotas, so I'm constantly turning trucks away and trying to reschedule. I'm working 14-hour days, 6 days a week. I never see my wife or kids. And remember, no overtime. On an hour-by-hour basis, it was a 50% pay cut. I cancel 3 family camping weekends, lose touch with my friends, and my sons cry every day when they see me putting my work boots on. Every day, the operations manager, the most mercurial a-hole I've ever met, who's also in charge of the failing production team that's the reason why I work so late, leaves at 5 p.m. sharp. I'm very frustrated, but I keep getting promises of it'll get better soon, so I stick it out. After about a month and a half, my anniversary's coming up. I beg and plead, will someone please cover the desk for the evening so I can leave at a decent hour and have dinner with my wife? I'm assured ahead of time that I can, but the day of, they all bail and totally screw me over. Fast forward another month, and a last-minute emergency that they create means I have to come in on a Saturday, and a 2-hour commitment becomes all day because I'm stuck on a forklift loading and unloading trucks when the rest of the forklift drivers don't show up, ruining another weekend of family plans. So I've had it. I turn in my notice. And then the trouble begins. They pitch a fit that I'm leaving. So they shunt me into a corner and have someone else cover my desk. I get bombarded with emails, around 250 a day, second-guessing every decision I make and demanding to know why they're still in the dire situation they've been in. Why hasn't this shipped yet? Because you morons haven't made it yet. Then the icing on the cake, they're flying someone in from another plant to assist as I transition out. It's the battle axe that trained me, who hates our location and hates me. So I just leave. I send an email and tell them I won't be back. I have a new job already lined up, so I'm updating all the job sites with new information, and one of the sites asks me to write a review of my time at the employer from hell. So I do. I write a brutal, scathing, incredibly honest, and documentable, I saved copies of everything, review that makes its way up to corporate. It's so bad that they start harassing me to remove it. I won't. They try to pay the employees still there to write positive reviews to offset mine. So I post on my blog, which has a great search engine cred, a similar review with details about the company, the names of the idiot managers, and contact info if candidates want to know more. It's a top page rank if you Google the company, so they can't silence it. Then they try to screw around my retirement and benefits. In the U.S., you get insurance for the rest of the month after you leave the employer. I've had 3 people reach out since I posted. Remember all the documentation I saved? Yeah, I call OSHA, the EPA, and Homeland Security. They don't maintain their machines or forklifts. They don't dispose of waste properly, and they don't secure the aluminum paste according to regulations. So now they're dealing with half a dozen agencies with acronyms, and they still can't find anyone to sit in my old desk. All I wanted was to go home on my anniversary. And our next story. Hey you, fill it up and check the oil. Now! Probably 17 or 18 years ago, I worked driving a truck for a propane delivery company. It was crappy hard work, and I hated it. By the end of what was usually a long day, I was bagged and just wanted to go home, often never even bothering to take off my coveralls before heading home. This particular day, I stopped around the corner from my work to get gas for my car. I often stopped at this place, so I knew most of the employees. After filling my car and paying for the fuel, I was going to leave and decided to give my windows a squeegee. As I'm doing this, a woman in a big new Mercedes S-Class pulls in and tells me to fill it up and check the oil. I don't realize she's talking to me, so obviously I ignore it. She again says, "Hey you, yes you, fill it up and check the oil." I look at her and say, "Sorry, I don't work here. This is my own car." Now, this is where a person that isn't a piece of crap says, "I apologize, thought you worked here." And I reply, "No problem, honest mistake, but this isn't a full-serve station." That's not what happened. She gave me a look up and down, looked judgingly at my not-so-nice car and said, "I don't have time for this. Just fill it up and check the oil, now," and immediately walked into the store, obviously not listening to my reply. I stood there a bit dumbfounded and was about to leave when I was hit with an epiphany. I opened her hood, grabbed a liter of oil off the shelf, and dumped it in her washer fluid tank, closed the hood, and drove off. About 4 or 5 days later, I stopped at the station to grab a drink when I was working, and the guy behind the counter, who I talked to pretty regularly, asked if I'd heard about what happened. He proceeds to tell me the story about this psycho bee that came in the day before, screaming about getting an employee fired for putting oil in her washer fluid. It was some guy who works here. He was wearing blue. A smile starts to spread across my face as he's telling the story. He looks at my coveralls, and it dawns on him. Holy F, it was you, and reaches over the counter to high-five me. He just flatly told her, "We aren't a full-service station. Nobody pumps gas here." She bitched out the manager on duty as well, and they just said, "Ma'am, you told someone that's not an employee to fill your car. There's nothing we can do." And our last story. I'm happy to pay more for this car. No? Okay. I was shopping for a new car a few years ago. I found one online that was selling for $800. So I go to check the car out with my mechanic buddy. I'm not expecting much, truth be told. An $800 car is, well, an $800 car. I'm surprised, however, to find that the $800 car is in pretty good condition. So I ask the seller why it's $800. "I think there's a transmission problem," he says. $2,000 fix or more. So we take it for a test drive. The car keeps jerking while accelerating. I'm thinking this could be any number of problems, but afterwards my mechanic buddy lets me know he thinks it's something far more trivial than a transmission problem, a 10-minute fix maybe. I don't want to be a dishonest F, so I say, hey, I don't think it's as bad as you think. I'd hate to buy this for such a low price if the problem's more minor than that. Would you mind if my buddy, who's a mechanic here, takes a look? If it ends up being the transmission or worse, you got yourself a deal for $800. If it's something minor, you can up the price because I don't want to cheat you. The dude explodes. It's a effing $800 car. Either you deal with it or you don't. It's as is. You know what that means, you PAB? Either you buy the car or you don't. So I do. I pay him $800 cash. My mechanic buddy pops the hood, takes off the distributor cap, cleans it, replaces it right then and there. There you go, he says loudly. That should fix it. Wow, that transmission looks almost brand new. I tell you, buying this car for $800 is practically a crime. You could probably resell this right now for $3,000. Wow, I said just as loudly. You know, I could have paid $3,000 for this car if I knew the fix was that easy. The seller's standing there, $800 in hand, watching. He interrupts. Hang on a sec. Before he could say another word, I closed the hood, unlocked the doors. Thanks for the car. You effing cheated me. You're not getting this for $800. I'm not sure where he was going with this. Did he expect me to pay him more money now? Of course not. I opened the driver's side door and got in, rolling down the window. Before I drove off, I smiled at him. Either you deal with it or you don't. It's as is. Do you know what that means? You PAB? And I drove away. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video, and I'll see you in the next one.